couch I brought in from the street.
Yeah, I have a couch that same color
Oh, good.
and art style.
Oh, good. No Dave today? Come on.
Yeah, I can make it just me.
Oh, that's cool. All right. No worries. Looking forward to talking to you, man. I mean, I'm super excited. You got a new season of Momma Named Me Sheriff on Sunday.
Yeah,
So congratulations on that.
thanks.
So
Been
cool.
crazy
I gotta
making
tell you,
part of it.
I was unsure because like there was a lot of controversy when I'll never forget when Mr. Pickles switched to Momma Named Me Sheriff. After that episode dropped, it was like fury on Adult Swim Reddit and
I had to stop looking at it. I was like, I mean, I don't care what fans think, of course, but you know,
sure.
I
I
can't
mean,
make it.
yeah, I mean, and you know that it's tough to go from a series that's so iconic. I mean, over your left shoulder is Mr. Pickles looking at me, and in instantly, recognizable. So I mean, what was that like making that decision and saying, you know what, we're gonna just was it like, hey, we're gonna just throw this out and start all over? What was that like?
Well, I mean, it was tough and an unexpected thing. Uh, Dave and I had always kind of talked internally about, hey, maybe once, it feels like right to wrap up Mr. Pickles or whenever the network wanted to, whichever it was going to be, that maybe a cool way to explore more of the characters in town would be through a spin-off of Sheriff.
Mhm.
I mean, this all kind of stems from, as much as we love Mr. Pickles and still do, he's still like a real dog to me, you know? We have these full stories, but they're in 11-minute episodes, which is super tough to get everything in there.
Yeah.
And ultimately, by spending that much time with Mr. Pickles, we don't get to spend as much time with all the other characters, So
Sure.
it was on the back of our mind to be able to explore these other characters through Sheriff. So we brought it up to Adult Swim, like, hey, can you give us a heads up if you ever think the series is about to end, or here's what we were thinking. And Mike Lazo really liked the idea and was like, maybe do that sooner. So he kind of put that idea in our heads. And one thing we learned from Adult Swim was that surprises can be a good thing, and they can, whether it's in a story or in an episode or a season or even a show, it can it's good to change things up. And I think that that's something that Adult Swim's really good at doing.
Mhm.
And so we kind of just latched onto that and rolled with it. And that, there's a whole other thing to
Sure.
say about that. But killing Mr. Pickles was tough for me. It was tough for all of us. And it was really tough to wrap up, things as good as we could in 11 minutes.
Sure.
But the toughest thing was killing Mr. Pickles. I was storyboarding that late at night in the office, and I got to the frame where the axe was an inch from his neck.
Yeah.
And I just sat there staring at the screen for like a half hour. I was like, it was like really tough for me. So I had to leave the studio, walk down to a bar, get a couple drinks. And I came back and had to kill him. I was that sentimental about Mr.
Sure.
Pickles. So
Yeah.
at least he's tough. But yeah,
Right.
now we got a whole new world.
Yeah. Now you got a whole new thing going. And I got to tell you, Hot House is probably one of my favorite production houses in the business. I mean, you guys just the type of art direction that you guys work on, and it shows up in Pickles, it shows up in Sheriff, it showed up in Liquid Death in that commercial, the first commercial you guys did,
Yeah.
which was amazing. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's on YouTube. I mean, it's one of the best commercials I've ever seen. It shows up there, and it's just hard. You guys have such a unique style that is super fast, it's frenetic. I'm actually shocked to hear that you guys do storyboard. Like, I don't even know how you would. I mean, now I guess it's a little more of tempo. It's a little more probably you're not worrying about like dog movements and stuff like that. So maybe it's a little easier. But I mean, it just seems like that seems like a show that's tough to plan, and that the fun stuff might even be like the background stuff.
Yeah, each season is different in some way. There's always like some difference, and this season especially was very different because we were doing it remotely. And I, also was not. I don't direct or edit this series like I did Mr. Pickles.
Mm-hmm.
The only episode of Momma Named Me Sheriff I directed and edited was the first one.
Mm-hmm. And what was that like? Were you okay with that? Were you okay with letting up those reins? I mean, to have to take away some of that control and give it to somebody else, was that hard to delineate?
It was hard, but it was a good thing.
Okay.
You got to find people that you trust, and you got to be able to let them run with their creative vision.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I, have to kind of decipher a lot of times whether or not a note I'm giving is because I was seeing things different or because it matters,
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Sure.
kind of like this mental checklist I have with other people taking those reins. But it's refreshing to see, like once it got going with other people's visions, it was refreshing to me to see it from other people's point of view. And that, I think, is helping the show grow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Is the reason you pulled back because are you just working on too many other things? Is that part of it? Is it because I know you are? I mean, you're a dad now. Congratulations, by the way, on that. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You're number one in my book. Well,
sorry to all the other dads out there. But
that's awesome. Yeah, everybody else is in second place. But yeah, I mean, so that's awesome that obviously your personal life has gotten busier. I mean, did that maybe partly influence like, hey, I need to let some stuff up because otherwise I'm just gonna be too bogged down. I'm not gonna be able to maybe have enough tension over here. Let me just give other people responsibilities. Does that play a factor?
Yeah, I mean, and a large part of it was that I was just wearing too many hats on the show, and it wound up being too much for me and too much for the crew because I became the bottleneck. Too much was depending on me, and I was on some of the Mr. Pickles seasons just at the office too much. I was never home, sleeping in the office a lot of times.
Wow.
Sometimes the majority of the week. It was, I was just putting way too much of my own soul into that show.
Sure.
And, I reached 40 and I was like, I don't know if I can sustain this anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool for those 3 seasons to kind of put everything I had into it.
Mm-hmm. But
it was time to see things from other people's perspectives more and to kind of just step back a little bit, and I think it's been a good thing.
Yeah, sure. And of course, like it always helps to get that second eye too. Like you're working on it and it's just maybe they see somebody else sees something that, I always thought, I always think back to a guy like Mike who used to work on your show. I mean, there was a guy that, eventually, did great and it's continuing to do great things. You guys have always been good at finding those talents and really shepherding them. And I think it shows. I think it shows in the show. It's interesting. I'm watching the first 2 episodes. I won't give any spoilers away, but it's still your keystroke. But it's it still feels like you're in Dave's show. It didn't feel like there was much of a pass off, if anything.
Cool.
So
yeah, I wanted it to feel like the same world,
Yeah.
But yeah, Mike Mayfield's one of the most talented people I've ever met. Such a good dude. Really enjoyed working with him and hope to again in the future on something. Yeah,
I mean, and why not? Like, I mean, and he's doing great stuff now. I know he's working over at Titmouse. He's doing a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I mean, you and Dave have really kind of helped bring about this like subculture in animation that it's you guys, it's JJ. I know I'm leaving out some people. The ultra violent type stuff that like gore that if you didn't grow up in loving horror, if you didn't grow up, I guess really being into like, extreme music and stuff like that, you may not get a lot of the imagery that you're seeing in those type of in everybody's projects. But I mean, you plug into a guy like me who's been, I'm wearing a shirt with a skull on it. I mean, of course it's going to resonate. Of course it's going to resonate. So, I mean, has that been challenging at all to try to really flesh out your vision? And what has that been like going from a Lazo run Adult Swim to a Yawalaway run Adult Swim? Has that transition been good, like easy to take on? And has that provided any additional challenges?
We work closely with Walter Newman
Walter,
still, and that's who we worked the closest with on Mr. Pickles. So in that regard, it's similar. I miss being able to have Lazo weigh in on things.
Sure.
But it was a pleasure to be able to work with him while he was there. I mean, he started this great network, and I don't think that Mr. Pickles could have been a show on another network. Maybe now, but not then.
Yeah.
And you know what Lazo liked about the show the most always was the town.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite see that at first. I saw it early on as more Mr. Pickles, Mr. Pickles, Mr. Pickles. And he loved Mr. Pickles, but he always talked about the town is what he likes the most about it. So I think that now we get a little bit of what he was seeing more in the Momma Named Me Sheriff, getting to explore this town that has all these rich characters, the ones that haven't been killed by Mr. Pickles.
Sure. And then, I mean, you're right. I mean, if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for Adult Swim, do we know who JJ Viard is today? Do we know who that is? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I just don't think we get, that type. Of course, like as you said, it's different today. All these streaming options, and now people are begging for anything. So people are taking everything and everything right now.
Christy Caracas too. He
Christy, yes,
with Super Gel really paved the way for shows like Mr. Pickles and JJ shows. So
sure, the Looney Tune himself.
Yeah.
And then of course, you guys, you've been working with Liquid Death. How did that come about? I mean, was this something you always wanted to do? Was this an opportunity that just kind of dropped in your lap? I mean, and it seems like you guys are taking a real passion with it. My thing has always been, if you're going to take on additional responsibilities, additional jobs and stuff like that, make sure you're passionate about it, because
I agree.
Otherwise it's going to flop. Yeah. I mean, don't be the thing where like, oh, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. You really got to do kind of one thing at a time. I mean, and really put your full force into it. Otherwise it just doesn't work. And Liquid Death, I mean, look at the success you guys are having. I've been following Fam for a little while now, and seeing some of the other projects that he's been kind of working on, and he's super passionate about the project too. So it's really inspiring to hear, and it's cool that you guys are really digging some inroads, it sounds like, with that project, and continue to do so. But I think my favorite part has been the comments on Amazon, like those are the best. If anybody ever gets bored, just go on Amazon, search up Liquid Death, and read the comments.
Have you heard the World's Greatest Hates?
Yes.
Album?
Yes.
Yeah. All like hateful comments about Liquid Death turned into lyrics for. I actually have the very first can of Liquid Death.
Really? Oh, there it is. Saying hi.
That Mike ever gave me once it was ready with.
That is awesome.
Logo on it. So yeah, Mike Cesario is the mastermind behind Liquid Death, and he had seen Mr. Pickles and reached out to me about it, and at first the idea was so crazy that it made me like it. A water called Liquid Death. We're talking about the tagline being "Murder Your Thirst." So that right away made me like it. But the thing that really got me on board with it was when I realized, how bad plastic bottles are for the environment, and how they're not really recycled, and how, I mean, if you've ever tried Liquid Death, tastes so much better in a cold metal can, but it's also so much better for the environment. And, you know, they give proceeds back to help the environment. So that's what really kind of did it for me. And so then we just started, you know, brainstorming on things, and I do a lot of artwork and writing.
And I can see as of today, it's become somebody's tattoo on there. There's a few tattoos already out there. It's interesting that it's you know, but I think that's it though. It's the brand. And then you're right, it's having that vision. And then it's interesting too, because just the other day I was watching TV, and they're running, all the bottle companies, the plastic bottle companies are running ads about, hey, recycle these bottles so we can get them back and reuse them again. And, you know, you're right, but you're right. It's like, who's doing that? Like less than 1%? Who's doing that? Nobody. I mean, even those bins, you know, you put out to your curb, you know, they always get kicked over anyway. And
so, I was just on a walk with Apollo a couple weekends ago. And there's just plastic bottles all over like this section of these woods that I was walking through. And it's just messed up.
I mean, you're right. I mean, it's right there. It's you know, it's a problem. It's, you know, it's a problem that, you know, hopefully we have a guy now in office that I know this was something you were pretty passionate about, looking at your artwork and stuff. You were very outspoken against, you know, Donald Trump and his presidency and all that stuff. And your artwork kind of really said that, and totally, you know, totally makes sense. I mean, so it's interesting now that we got a guy who seems to now finally care about it. And I'm hoping, you know, it becomes the first of many people that come together and start to address some of these, because, you know what, I like going to the beach and not kicking up needles and bottles. So
I hope so too.
See what happens. But so Momma Named Me Sheriff, upcoming season. What kind of guest stars are we expecting? I mean, where do you guys bring the show, and what's the runway like?
Well, you know, my favorite guest star is a bug named Roach. I don't know if you've seen that episode.
I have. Okay. I don't want to spoil it though.
But I mean, I guess the part of it that I can spoil is the kind of setup to it, which is that Sheriff thinks that a cockroach has helped him solve a crime, so he hires the cockroach to be a deputy, which works with Sheriff on a case that day, but infuriates Deputy Goodman being equal to a bug job. But so that's a cool new character. I mean, one thing we're always trying to do more with Momma Named Me Sheriff, as opposed to Mr. Pickles, is we're trying to, instead of always bringing on a new character, like in Mr. Pickles that would often get killed. You know, like we put all this time into creating these cool characters, and then
you want to dig in a little deeper.
We're trying to use the characters we have more within the show already, and I think that starting to do that was a little tough, you know. Sometimes you just want a character who's doing this thing. Cool, you just come up with a new character. You know, either forget about him or Mr. Pickles kills him. But with this, you know, if we have an idea and we need the right character to be doing this idea, we have to make that work within a certain character, and that helps characters we already had grow. I guess I forgot the rest of the question, but
that's okay. Is Sheriff looking to find love this season, you think?
There is an episode this season where he has a love interest.
Oh, okay.
And that was the love interest was the storyline we were trying to get in last season, but it just didn't fit, you know. So many things we want to get in these episodes, but they got to fit into the right puzzle piece.
I mean, would the easy solution just to be like, hey guys, we think we could do 22 minutes? Like, is that harder than it sounds to potentially happen? Because it sounds like you have enough. You almost have like a Springfield. We were talking about The Simpsons. You almost have like a Springfield type setup going on, and it sounds like you guys could just go with everybody, sort of.
I mean, it's definitely in the back of our heads that it could be a 22-minute show.
Mhm.
So we'll have to kind of see what happens with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see it as being a 22-minute show, or it can be. But yeah, I mean, they're full stories put into an 11-minute episode. So it would be nice to have a little more breathing room.
Yeah.
But yeah. Remembering one of your questions I didn't answer a second ago was what else is kind of new this season or what to expect. And answer to that would be that we really tried to focus more on Sheriff, Dispatch, and Goodman's working relationship this season, kind of building them as a team, finding out like why they both do or don't get along with each other, what makes them tick in the station. So that's something to expect more of this season, seeing them working as a team and things like that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then of course, you know, in terms of like the scope, I mean, the type of cases that these guys have been going on, even kind of preceding Mr. Pickles, it's like it doesn't seem like there really is any limits. I mean, you guys will go sci-fi if you need to. You guys will go horror if you need to. You guys will go, you know, this, that, and the other thing if you need to. I mean, it seems like you guys just kind of can take the show and mold it to almost any type of a genre and see how they mesh and see how it works.
Yeah, I always like doing that with Mr. Pickles.
Yeah.
Especially because I I kind of saw those episodes as, well, I wanted not all the episodes, but I liked it when there were some episodes that had clear different themes. Like the telemarketers episode had like a Western theme, you know, so some of my, you know, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is one of my favorite movies. So like, drawing inspiration from that. And then, you know, other episodes, a lot of horror movie.
Yeah. Even Sheriff seems like he always seemed like a Western character in
like yeah.
And you know what I mean? What's going on now? Yeah. You know, he'd show up and, you know, you guys would always shoot him, you know, with his boots on and you know,
where he's in a Western, he's got a hat. He's like, what's going on now?
Yeah.
How you doing, ma'am? Good to see you. All right, fellas. We got a standoff. Sheriff gets some spurs on his skates, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, there's still some themes like that in Momma Named Me Sheriff too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of cool to see. Like, so what kind of influences are part of the DNA that becomes your art, both, you know, whether it's an animated series or, you know, everybody should go check out willcarsola.com. You got a lot of your original pieces on there, and a bunch of which were sold out, which is awesome. So like, what would you say is like been your influences and what that kind of really defines your artistic direction?
Well, you know, I think I started drawing and, well, where the kind of Mr. Pickles style is now originally started in like maybe middle school, maybe a little earlier, maybe elementary school, when I would just kind of draw kids in the classroom to look funny, or I would draw the teacher to look stupid, and it would make like my friends laugh. You know, trying not to be too mean, just kind of, you know.
Yeah.
Drawing,
the teacher smells or something.
Yeah, like drawing funny faces, you know, and then I just started drawing more funny faces. I would draw myself to look kind of weird, and you know, throughout the years, sometimes I would work more on art, sometimes I wouldn't. You know, I went to school for painting, which is a totally different style, and I did tons of other paintings in a different style, but I would always come back to this kind of cartoon style, and every once in a while I would do something in animation. It wasn't until, you know, Mr. Pickles days, or a little bit before that, when I kind of started doing more and more animation. But yeah, I mean, I think that some of the more horror aspect of my art comes from a possible ghost experience I had when I was a kid.
Do tell.
It may be a dream, I don't know, but but I remember it very vividly. And I was like 5 years old. I lived in this old house in Virginia, And I remember just looking up at the corner of the room, and there was this green fluorescent floating head, like up, where the wall meets the ceiling. And it was just staring down at me and talking to me in a different language. I still don't know what it was.
Wow.
With the same sentence over and over. And I was scared shitless.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I even like hid under the blanket and held it up so it couldn't see me breathing. And I guess I fell asleep. But yeah, so that memory kind of stuck. It's always stuck with me, and it's always kind of just been part of the inspiration between some of the like more horror.
Yeah, probably like the pathos, if you will. And I think you even did like a gallery last year before COVID, right?
Yeah, I had some pieces up at Super Chief.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, of course, COVID has ruined everything.
Yeah.
I mean, what has it been like trying to do the show? I mean, what were the things that were the big challenges in terms of getting everything in the way it should be, and and how what were some like things that you guys didn't think were going to be able to happen that did happen? I mean, did you guys think the show would even get done, wrapped, given everything that was going on?
Yeah, it was such a crazy time, huh?
Yeah.
I was about to have a baby too, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we thought it was going to be 2 weeks of that, of working remotely, and then
here we are.
Yeah, almost a year. But yeah, I mean, it was challenging at first just to kind of like communicate with everybody. But we do everything like this now. Through the computer or on the phone. I actually have been recording voices in there.
Oh wow.
At first it was like hey, let's just put a mic in there, and I put some blankets up on the wall held in place by rocks and twine. Sure. It was like, all right, we're just gonna be doing this for a week. And it worked.
Yeah.
But then it was like, okay, I should get some actual soundproofing in there.
Yeah.
Just been recording in there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have our sound engineer through Zoom like this, or in other programs, and I can hear Dave. Through
you can hear him anything. You can hear him anyway.
Yeah.
You guys have a telepathic.
Yeah. What's that? Oh yeah, he just told me a joke.
And it's funny because like I know we're both like we're both into similar genre music, and some of my favorite bands they've actually been kind of doing it this way for years anyway. Like Jason Sukoff is one of the bigger heavy metal producers, and he's always recorded from his house. Like so he's kind of been doing it for years. So I wasn't that worried from a sound perspective. I was not worried. I've been using Zoom for 5 years, so I wasn't that worried there. I think the thing, yeah. I think the thing that I was most concerned about with animation is that minutia of, just being able to just walk down the hall and ask somebody about something. And then come back and just fix it. And now it's not at that anymore. It's an email or
so hands-on, in certain departments, and that was tough at first, but we all got used to it, and now it's kind of like, well, we can still talk and see each other. It's just through Zoom. I got used to it. And there's things that have been nice about working from home, which are close to Apollo, my son. He's 9 months now. In between taking little breaks, I can go up and hang out with him, and that's been nice.
Is he recording yet? Do you put him in sound with him record?
I should, yeah.
So see what's on his mind.
He's gonna start working already.
Yeah.
But it has taken longer. There was a learning curve. We had to kind of rethink everything, and it took longer for sure. Yeah. But it all worked in the end. Yeah,
and as long we need to keep everyone. And what's of everything. I'm surprised. I don't know if you guys probably can't tell me this yet. I'm wondering if every network and streamer is knocking on your doors right now, because everyone's looking for animation. I mean, we're being flooded. I'm being flooded. I've never been this busy in terms of coverage.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. I've never been this busy in terms of coverage, and it just seems like every day there's an announcement of. I mean, yesterday HBO Max announced 10 new series in development. Like that's crazy.
Right.
But it's there. The appetite is there, and people are finding these grooves in the industry too. Like there's stuff that's a little more anime heavy, and there's stuff that's horror. And I mean, the Shivering Truth last year was so good. I mean, from Vernon Chatman,
So good. Yeah.
so good. And you could tell like that same similar pathos that you guys have, that horror. You could tell there's a subset of horror films that are. I don't think the horror industry has really. I don't know how good it is now compared to the 80s or the 70s. I just feel like it was just so good at one point. I mean, there's some underground stuff that's okay, but I hate the CG shit. Like I can't stand.
Rare.
Yeah,
it's a good horror movie anymore. It's like maybe one a year. I mean, the biggest two inspirations for me, movie-wise, especially horror movie-wise, are Evil Dead 2.
Mm-hmm.
That goes along with what you're saying with that kind of super, super weird, but super stylistically cool type film. And then, I mean, the ultimate, The Shining, that's my all-time favorite movie.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I liked it. I liked it. I thought it was good. I mean, I wasn't the second one, all right. I think I liked the first one better, but not so much because of Pennywise. I think I liked it better just because the kids I think had such a cool dynamic and really kind of brought me back to my childhood. Like we didn't have internet, so we went out and played. So you threw rocks off bridges. You saw you wanted to see what happened. You look for turtles. And it's not really that anymore, is it? It's it's everyone. What's going on today, kids?
Yeah.
And
it was Friday the 13th for me.
Yes.
I didn't watch when I was young. I watched it later when I was older.
Yeah.
So when I did watch it, it didn't have the same kind of effect it would have, I think, when I was younger.
Yeah.
It should probably be the same with Friday the 13th now if I was to watch it for the first time. But as a kid, Friday the 13th greatly inspired me, but also scared the shit out of me.
Sure, I'm sure.
I didn't have much to do as a kid, so I would just go walk out into the woods behind our house. There's this canyon that just kind of went on, or this pit that basically went on into endless woods, and I would just walk around.
Yeah.
And like as it was getting dark and I had to walk home, I would always just like look behind me, like and expect some guy with a hockey mask and an axe.
Yeah. I noticed there's a lot of woods in Old Town. Is that indicative from that? Because I noticed there are a lot of woods, backwoods areas. You like going in there, even when there's Pickles, you did.
I definitely like the woods. I think that stems from growing up around a lot of woods, but also movies like the Friday the 13th. I enjoy any film where there's a lot of woods. There's something about the trees that inspire me as well. In both nature and the woods, there's a lot of importance there for me. But I've always felt that the woods are both beautiful and scary at the same time.
Sure.
I think the scary part comes from certain horror movies I saw as a kid. So I always love scenes in woods, whether it's animated or live action.
And of course, all the scenes of all you had to do is turn on the news and see the woods and on fire all last year. Can you? I mean, all that type of stuff, and but I mean, it's important for kids. I think it's important for everyone to get out, experience nature. I mean, do you hunt at all? Do you take part in any hunting, or
no?
Is that something you want to do?
No, I've never hunted.
Really? I've always been kind of I've always kind of wanted to try it just because like I watch Joe Rogan sometimes, less nowadays than I did before, and he was always talking about, hey, hunting that elk and then I guess eating the thing that you kind of yourself killed and prepared, and you froze it, and you make sure it's ready for your whole family. And I guess there's something about that, versus, I mean, but I'm lazy, so so there's that too.
Yeah. I mean, I knew people who hunted back when I was, a kid or a teenager, and was around like a friend of mine who was skinning a deer, and I just realized that it wasn't for me. I also, when I was a little kid, I had a BB gun that my dad gave me,
Mhm.
and I immediately went out and shot, tried to hit a bird, and then I went over to the bird, and it was just, it wasn't dead. It was bleeding out, and I was a little kid. I just started crying,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, it's just like from then on, I was like, nah, this is not for me. But
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
also
get
don't
it.
meat at all, but
Really? Are you vegan?
yeah, I am actually.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's what the vegans episode.
Oh, that's right.
I was us making fun of vegans.
Yes, because
Dave and I are
there's
both.
there's two types of vegans. Yeah, there's the type of vegan that were, they're just, you would never know they're vegan, unless you asked. And then there are the type of vegans where, one of my favorite, I think I told you guys this. One of my favorite bands is Devil Driver, and Des Fafara, the front man, I can't stand. I can't follow on any socials because he's vegan now, but he turned vegan at 50. So it's like he's just so like, if you talk about meat, he blocks you.
Oh yeah,
He does all that type of stuff.
no, I'm not. Not like that. I don't really talk about it much.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like for me. Everybody's
Yeah.
different. I think everybody's bodies are different.
What about Apollo? So when you have a kid, does a kid allowed to eat a vegan diet? Like, how does that work in terms of proteins and?
Well, we looked into it, and it seemed like being vegan was. I mean, people do it, but
Yeah.
it was just, I don't know. We didn't find all the info. I don't know. We're still going to learn about it. But he eats dairy. He's not hasn't eaten meat yet. So I think we might raise him vegetarian, but we're going to kind of just see how it goes and make sure he's healthy. That's priority number one. So
Yeah.
I've never had a kid before, so we're learning. But he's great, man. He's the coolest stuff.
That's awesome. And are you guys into like the veganese and stuff like that? Like, do you get into veganese and the vegan cheese and all those like the Beyond Burgers? That's
I love Beyond Meat. It was like, cool, I can actually have a burger that tastes like a burger for once.
does it really work? Like, it really works, you think?
My taste buds, I guess it's been like 13 years since I've eaten meat.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But so my taste buds have changed.
Yeah.
I bet like things that taste good to me wouldn't taste good to other people.
Is Dave vegan too, or just you? He's vegan too? Oh, so two vegan guys somehow came up with the most violent show on TV.
Yeah, I know, right?
How was that? And it's ironic because it's Mr. Pickles kills a lot of animals. He would kill a lot of animals. So it's interesting that you guys.
He killed a lot of vegans too.
That's true.
Cool about that episode, and I don't know if many people know this or not. Maybe they do, but we wanted to hire because there was a lot of cameos in that episode. We wanted all the guest actors to be vegan.
Yeah. And I think, was Rob Zombie in that episode? I know you've had it before. Yeah.
Lauren Duthius, Wayne Hendricks, Leighton Phidias, Steve-O, Weird Al.
Oh, I never knew Steve-O was a vegan. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is that true? Wow. That's interesting. So one more and I'll let you go. I mean, any last thoughts on the upcoming season? Are you excited for it? Do you have ideas for season 3 and so on and so forth?
I always have ideas.
Yeah.
So many ideas that never make it into the show. There's so many things I still want to do, and would love to do, and hope to see happen in Old Town. But I'm super pumped on this season. I think it's the best yet. We get to really explore a lot of these characters more, and really excited about the character development with Dispatch's character that Dave does the voice for. He's really turning into an awesome character. So is Goodman too. Can we really dive deeper into what makes Goodman tick as well? And I'm just really excited about the dynamic between those three the most, and seeing all the crazy things they have to go through.
Yes. Yeah, and of course, I mean, crazy is your guys' MO. So I'm looking forward to it. In the upcoming season. So, all right, well, I'll let you go. Thanks so much for taking time to talk with us today about the new season. We can't wait to see the rest of what you guys got. And Hopefully we'll be talking to you guys again soon about season 3 and whatever the hell else you guys seem to be working on, because I'm still rooting for Gary the Wheelchair Show. I'm still rooting for it. So maybe one day.
Right. Yeah, right before Mr. Pickles.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they came out like around the same time, right? Like right around the same week. Oh, I missed that one. All right. Well, have a good one. Say hi to Apollo for us, and we'll be talking to you again soon, hopefully.
All right.